Hello everyone. This lecture will give you a good introduction to why should we use engineering mechanics and what is the importance of engineering mechanics in the discipline of engineering. So this is to be noted that in this course we will be discussing engineering mechanics through the notes provided by uh, from the book of Ferdinand B. Baer and Russell Johnston. The name of the book is Vector Mechanics for Engineers. Edition 1 is for statics and edition 2 is for dynamics. Okay, so we'll see some of the basic concepts which are available in this. Mechanics is the science which describes and predicts the condition of rest or motion of bodies under the action of forces. Now, these forces may be oriented at different directions on the parts of the body. Further, there are various categories available for mechanics. The three major categories of the bodies are: one is a rigid body, another one is the deformable body, and the third one is fluid. So we'll take a marker and we'll try to tell you how these things will work. Actually, let me take a marker. So we have rigid bodies, further we have deformable bodies and fluid bodies. In the rigid bodies, usually the rigid body is a body that do not deform. However, then the other bodies are deformable bodies, which are usually solid bodies and fluids. So in this course of engineering mechanics, we will be majorly concerning about rigid bodies and how the rigid body acts when it is being acted upon by various forces from statics and dynamics point of view. Usually in the second year engineering branch of mechanical engineering, you will be studying about deformable bodies. Usually the subject is called as solid mechanics. And in case of fluid, it is called as fluid mechanics. So mechanics, when different forces acts on deformable bodies, it is termed as solid mechanics. And when different various forces acts on the fluids, we'll be dealing with the fluid mechanics. But in this subject, we'll be dealing on rigid bodies. And the major definition of the rigid body is the bodies that do not deform. So deformation is not considered, only the action of the forces is considered. If the action of the forces on the rigid bodies makes the body move, then the study is termed under the dynamics. And if the body does not move, then the study is termed under the statics. Mechanics is an applied science. It is not an abstract or pure science, but does not have the empiricism found in other engineering sciences. Now, to start with, it is the major foundation of most of the engineering subjects, and it is an important study for the engineering branch. There are various concepts of mechanics that needs to be first of all understood before starting the mechanics. One is a space-time integration. So each and every point in space are to be measured from a reference point. Then what is time? The definition of time is important, and most of the things are known to you. Then what is mass? What is its importance? Further, the force. Force is a push or pull that is applied on a body. And what does a force does when it is specifically being applied on a rigid body? And needless to say, it's a vector quantity. Further, there is a different types of forces. We know that the force is a vector quantity, and kind of an addition of two vectors can be done through a parallelogram law. We will see this further. Or there is one major principle of transmissibility which states that you can point the force on the point on any object, any point inside the object, the action of the force will remain same. So either you put the force here, or you put the force here, or you put the force anywhere else. The important point is, if the line of action is same, then you put the force anywhere on that line of action of force, then the effect remains same. We'll discuss all that in the coming up slides. Further, to review, it's important that you should be looking towards Newton's first law of motion. What does it say? That if a particle at rest, it will continue to remain at rest. Or if a particle is moving, it should continue to remain moving until and unless acted upon by a force, specifically an unbalanced force. The second law of motion helps us to give an acceleration proportional to non-zero applied force. This is a very famous second law of Newton. The third law gives us an action to reaction interaction between the two particles. Okay. Further, there is a Newton's law of gravitation also. I hope that all these laws of Newton you might have gone through earlier in your classes. The various units that we'll be using are length, time, mass, and forces, and their corresponding units should be known to you so that it will be easier for you to drive the quantities in these units only. There are various system of units. SI system is there. There is another US system in which we treat the units in different way. Most of the things are known to you. I hope that. In the method of problem solution, we'll be discussing the problem statement, which includes a data, a specification of what is to be done, and different types of figure, first of all. And further, we will draw a free body diagram of a problem so that the problem is well defined. And we define the problem in such a way so that it should be broken down in smaller parts. Further, the fundamental principle, the six fundamental principle applied to express the condition of rest or motion of the body. So majorly there is a rules of algebra that needs to be followed during the solution of the equations. Further, you can do also a solution check by doing these using these six principles that we have already stated. Always use that. And accuracy is also important. So how accurate your given solution is while performing your computational part. In these conditions, the use of hand calculators may be used or a computers may be used. But I request you to use the hand calculators only. We do not require very high accuracy. The accuracy up till 1 point of decimal, after 1 point of decimal is sufficient. Usually it is a general rule in engineering that the accuracy up till 0.2% is considered accurate. So usually any recorded parameter within these accuracy will be acceptable. So this was the basic introduction given to you. I hope you like this introduction, and now we will be moving towards the second part. In this second part, we'll be discussing different particle, the states of the particle during the static conditions. So let's see what it is. This is important application of this system, like the tension in the cable supporting by this person majorly can be found using the concepts used in this paper. The objective for this chapter is to investigate different forces on different particles. We can replace multiple forces acting on a particle with a single equivalent force. Further, the relationship between forces on a particle is said to be in a state of equilibrium. Further, the focus on particles do not imply a restriction to different bodies. The study is restricted to analyzing the size and shape of the bodies is not significant. So, all the forces may be assumed to be applied at a particular point. We'll discuss majorly all these problems in the coming up slide. Just try to look at this situation. A vector which is inclined at an angle of 30 degrees. So the action of one body on another body, it's a point of application, magnitude and line of action. So the sense is 30 degrees. This is the point of application of the force. This is the line of action of the force. All these things you must be knowing. Experimental evidence shows that the combined effect of two forces may be represented as a single resultant force. Like in this case, there are two vectors, vector P and vector Q. The combined effect is to make a resultant vector using a simple parallelogram law. So this resultant vector is R. Further, the resultant is equivalent to the diagonal of the parallelogram, which contains the two forces as an adjacent leg. Vector and all about its that displacement, velocities and acceleration, all these are vector quantities. And I hope you know what are scalar quantities. These are, they possess only magnitude and no direction, like mass, volume, temperature, density, pressure, etc. Vectors are of different types. There are fixed or bound vectors that have well-defined points on the application. There are free vectors that may be freely moving in space without changing their effect on the analysis. We may be also having a sliding vector which may be applied anywhere along the line of action, again without affecting the analysis. We have a very famous trapezoidal rule for vector addition. If the two vectors are placed like this, we can add two vectors together, P plus Q, as a trapezoidal rule. Then we may be having a triangular rule. If we have two vectors like P and Q, then we can add P and Q in a head-tail fashion. This is P and this is the tail of this vector and this is the head of vector P. So put the tail on the B and then the vector is there. Just remember that the direction of the vector should not be changing. We can take this vector from here and put it here. Then the effect of vector will be same. Just ensure that it should not change its direction. Then also the vector addition will be valid. In a similar way, we have changed the placement of P here. So the Q is like that only. We have changed the P to here, and now the P is here as a BC. Then also the resultant will remain same. So laws of cosine, especially for a triangular law, with this help we can obtain the magnitude of the resultant vector. So magnitude of the resultant vector is R. So R square is equal to P square plus Q square minus 2PQ cos B. Okay. So this is the equation. You should be using this equation more frequently to obtain the magnitude of resultant vector R. And remember that the resultant vector R is the sum of P and Q. Further, laws of sign. Laws of signs help us to obtain the different angles inside the triangular law. So inside the triangle we have three angles, 1, 2 and 3. So it's easy to remember sine law just by saying that sine A divided by P, sine B divided by vector R, sine C divided by vector Q, where A, B and C are the angles here which is made by the two vectors. So this is the angle A, this is angle B and this is angle C. Just to make sure that you remember it correctly, just ensure that this P plus Q, like this one, any angle in front of this, so P plus Q, angle in front of this is B. So make the ratio of this angle divided by the vector in front of this angle. This angle divided by the vector in front of this angle. This angle divided by the vector in front of it. So these becomes the laws of sine. This is something same. Sine A divided by the vector in front of it, P. Sine B divided by the vector in front of it, R. R is the sum of P and Q. Then sine C divided by the vector in front of it, Q. So by this way you can remember it easily. Further, we all know that the vector addition is commutative. Whether you add P plus Q or you add Q plus P, it does not matter. It does not affect. However, vector subtraction is not commutative. It is to be seen like this. These are two vectors P and Q. If you add them, you have to change the sense. So the vector subtraction becomes P minus Q. When you change the direction of the Q, it becomes minus. So P is this vector and the minus sign is placed to change the direction of P. Remember, you can change the direction by putting the minus sign, but you cannot change the orientation of P. So if P is oriented like this, you should keep the scale and place P in this direction. I mean, it should be same. If this is 20 degrees to the horizontal, it should be also be 20 degrees to the horizontal. Do not change the orientation of P or sense of P. Resultant of several concurrent forces. Concurrent forces are a set of forces which pass through a same point. This is a set of forces. So from this set of forces, a vector Q is originating, P is originating, C is originating. We can combine them together like this and add a resultant like this. So a set of concurrent forces also can be replaced by a single resultant force R like this. But remember that this R should properly represent all the three forces as a vector sum like this. So F here is the sum of P and Q. In this case, F is the sum of P plus Q, and in this case also F is the sum of P plus Q. Okay, this is a very simple sample problem where there are two different vectors acting from the angle 20 degrees to this horizontal, and another vector having 20 degrees to this vector, 25 degrees to this vector. Basically, this is a bolt at a position A knitted at a particular ground. The two forces act on a bolt P and Q. Determine their resultant. So, how will you do this? You can do it graphically or you can do it in a trigonometric fashion. So, how you will do it graphically? You know, during your 11th, 12th classes, you try to scale the vector. Try to make the scaling on the vector and say that this is the vector. The length of this vector is such that it is having this magnitude. Then the length of vector is such that it is having this magnitude. And make different angles, make a triangular law or parallelogram law and solve it. The trigonometric fashion, we will use the laws of cosine and laws of sine. So by using the laws of cosine, we can easily determine the magnitude of the resultant vector, and using the laws of sine, we can easily determine the angle of the vector. So in this case, if you see, this is vector P and this is vector Q. If you see the original problem, we have placed P and the Q is placed on the tip, tail to head. So place the Q here, but in the same sense as this vector, and make a triangle. So this is what we are doing here. We have placed from A to B and then placed Q on top of this and made a resultant here. Since this was 20 degrees, so this becomes 25 degrees, and on this line we have total of 180. So 180 minus 180 minus 25 is 155 degrees. So through this basic trigonometric action, we can calculate the resultant using the laws of sine, laws of cosines, and the angles using the laws of sine. Just go through this example on your copy and pencil, and you will be easy to solve this basic problem of engineering mechanics. Problem number 2. In this case, there is a barge is put by two tugboats, and it is said that if the resultant of the two forces exerted by the tugboats is this much, directed along the axis of the barge, determine the tension in each ropes for alpha equals to 45 degrees. So these are the two boats and this is the barge which is being pulled by these two boats. The angle made by this boat to the center line is 30 degrees. The angle made by this boat to the center line is almost 45 degrees. What we have to find out? We have to find out the resultant force exerted. We have to find out the tensions in these two cables BC and AB. Remember that tension is something very similar to forces, and tension is there when there is something somebody is pulling. So the vector of the tension is in the direction of the pull. Since this boat is actually pulling this barge, so the direction of vector will be in this direction. This boat is also pulling this barge, so the direction of the vector will be in this direction. Okay, so we will try to do this with a graphical solution. You can try this at your home, and we will try a trigonometric solution also. So graphical solution, I keep it to you. Try this, very basic, very simple, and we will try to solve it through a trigonometric solution. So we will keep these two vectors like this. This is vector T2 and this is vector T1. So we have placed this vector here and made a triangular law like this. Vector T2, vector T1. And the resultant will be along the direction of force. So this is given to us 5000 L. And it's very easy to find out these three angles. This is very easy, 30 degrees here. So this vector is 30 degree. This vector should also be 30 degree, alternate angles. And this is alpha, 45 degree given. So by using sum of all the three angles, minus 180, 180 minus 45, 30, so this will become 105. By using the rule of sine of laws of sine, we can easily find these two equations. This equation plus this equation will give a T1, and these two equations will give me T2. Okay. So there is another catch to this problem. What will happen to the value of alpha if the tension on the rope T2 needs to be minimum? It needs to be minimum. How can you reduce the tension on the boat? Remember that it's very easy to see that the tension on the boats can be reduced, or the tension on the boat C can be reduced when the tension on the A will take half of the tension and tension on C will take half of the tension. So that these two ropes or these two vectors should be 90-degree apart. If they are 90-degree apart, the load will be distributed proportionally to each of the boats. So uh, through through the basic use of trigonometry, we have seen that this is T2 and this is T1. Now we know that if we can make an angle of 90 degree between these two, we can find out using the simple trigonometry that the value of alpha will be 90 minus 30, alpha equals to 60. So at a value of 60 degree, the T2 will be minimum in this case. So these are very simple and effective problems, uh, and I hope you might have understood many things related to this. Any questions arising to your mind, please comment them in the Google Classroom. Anything that you wanted to know, and we'll be meeting in the next lecture, which is scheduled in the class time.